If you've ever felt manipulated, gaslit, or undervalued in a wellness or spiritual setting, this video is for you. Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily M. Parr, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the wellness and spiritual traps that nobody else is talking about. I'm going to be talking about false light and toxic teachers, coaches, and wellness spaces, and hidden exploitation that you may not have known about. In this video, I am going to be sharing some of my own lived experiences in these spaces, and I'm also going to be sharing ways that you can protect yourself. If you are on a self-development journey, it is so key that you look out for these traps and that you be very discerning about the programs and spaces you choose to participate in. So I'm going to be breaking this down into 5 sections, starting with embodiment versus branding. So let's start off with talking about what embodiment actually is, because some people may not understand. Embodiment is living and practicing what you preach. I don't talk about rocket science because I don't know anything about rocket science. What I do know about is mindfulness, intergenerational healing, yoga, weightlifting, Pilates, bar, because I live these things. Nutrition, gut healing, IBS, family dynamics, toxic relationships. These are things that I have lived. So therefore, I am the embodiment of those lessons that I have learned from living those experiences, from living those things, breathing and sleeping those things, learning about them, researching, overcoming the challenges. The branding of spirituality and wellness is one of the most toxic things that I have ever seen. And a lot of people really don't know what to look out for if you don't have an understanding of how marketing works. Now, I do have a background in marketing, and I am someone who can very easily see when I am being marketed to versus when someone is really embodying what it is that they are selling me. Now, that too came with lived experience. So just because your yoga teacher, your Pilates teacher, looks super hot and toned and fit and healthy and wears the high-end matching set brands, and they come in with clean hair and makeup and jewelry and nails and whatever, and they look like they're the part, doesn't mean that they are actually embodying the wellness that is behind what it is they say that they're teaching. This is where certifications are only a part of the embodiment practice. Because truthfully, anybody can go and get a certification in anything. If you just put your mind to it, you can do anything that you set out to do. But someone who is genuinely passionate about yoga or genuinely passionate about the principles of Pilates is going to always put a focus on mindfulness and wellness at the core of it. When those mindfulness and wellness tools get marketed and twisted and exploited is what we have to be really discerning about, though. A lot of the times these teachers are overworked, especially in locations where you see them have a very big schedule. They are not really practicing the wellness of what they're teaching. The more classes that they teach, the less of that wellness they are likely giving themselves, because they are likely not going for those bathroom breaks. They are likely pushing through potential injuries and discomfort to the point of pain. While they tell you to listen to your body, they are going and ignoring that themselves. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is that right there is a performance, and as soon as we put a camera right in front of us, a phone right in front of us, that yoga practice is no longer sacred. That Pilates practice is no longer focused on that principle of Pilates, which is concentration. It's focused on how can I look camera ready. And listen, I have a background in modeling and acting. I know a lot about being camera ready. I love to be in front of the camera like I am right now. But when I'm practicing, especially in the last 3 or so months, I have learned that it is so much more powerful to put the phone away. But why is everybody pulling their phones out in class? Why is everybody filming? Because it's a performance. It's not about the wellness. It's about status. It's about looking a certain way online. It's about bringing in more money. And look, you can love money, and money is a neutral thing. It's not this bad thing. But every single class and all the way through, when are you actually taking care of yourself? When are you doing the embodiment? So on a personal level, what makes me different that way and what sometimes makes me a target that way is that I will focus more on the mindfulness and more on the wellness and say no and set strong boundaries around that instead of performing and not keeping up with the latest trends. And that's the other thing too, is that the trends versus embodiment is literally the difference between a season versus longevity and prosperity. I have clients that are literally in their 80s. They do not care about looking camera ready and wearing a matching set. They're not focused on how they look. They're focused on how they feel and making sure that they're able to be independent and move in their body. And they're not looking outside of themselves either for spiritual guidance and wisdom, because they know that that spiritual guidance and wisdom comes to them on the mat when they actually concentrate, when they quiet their minds and they're able to focus on what's really happening within them. That's when they get all the answers. That's what makes them such wise elders. That is the difference between embodiment versus branding. Section number 2, let's talk about these groups, these studios, these gyms, these business owners that don't pay their teachers and coaches. I've been holding on to this for a minute. So the very first studio that I taught at, I was consistently paid on a monthly basis, and I taught at this studio for 9 months. 3 months into my teaching experience there, I had my coworkers, my other teachers at the studio, come to me and ask me if I was being paid. Asked me if I was being paid on time and if I was being paid in full. And the answer up until 5 months was yes. Past that point, I was paid in increments, and this owner was actively trying to get away with not paying teachers. Now, I got paid in the end because nobody is going to hold my hard-earned money over my head, but I will just connect this to a larger issue in the spiritual community. And that is the exploitation of labor of women under the guise of sacred work. Sacred does not mean unpaid. I often see these energy exchange programs. It took place in that studio and in many others where I live. All over the city of Toronto, there are energy exchange programs. If you're a business owner and you're watching this, just know I don't support that decision. I don't believe in taking advantage of someone's hard work and not paying them. If someone does a job, you pay them on time, and you pay them in full. And it doesn't matter if it's cleaning the place or teaching a class. Everybody deserves a fair and equal wage, a livable wage. There are so many leaders and teachers in the spiritual and wellness and healing communities that have no idea what to charge for their work, and many that are afraid to charge for their work because for whatever reason they don't believe that it is worthy of being paid. And the fact of the matter is that embodiment work that I was alluding to earlier is a certification in itself. Years and years of practice is a certification within itself that makes you extremely valuable, and those skills that you've picked up are monetizable skills. I've also seen a lot of debates on specifics of how much to charge, and the fact of the matter is that as an independent contractor, as a healer, a teacher, a coach, we can all charge whatever it is that we want to charge as long as people are willing to pay for it. Same thing with the studios. Studios can charge as much as they want to charge for a class as long as people are willing to pay for it. Where that gets dicey, where that becomes exploitive, is when it becomes an act of overcharging, where the value of what you're providing does not match the price that you're charging for. While I'm here, I'm just going to say it flat out because maybe there are people who are watching this who would like to become a yoga or Pilates or bar instructor in Toronto or in the GTA. Just so you know, you'll be looking at a pay rate of anywhere between $30 to $70 at a community center, a gym, or a studio. And this is largely to do with your experience and also to do with the budget of the place that is going to pay you. But you have to keep in mind that if you're working independently, like you're working online, I've seen coaches charge $10,000 for programs for like life coaching, for example, $10,000 for programs that they are not delivering $10,000 worth of value for. So that is totally exploitive. We need to be a lot more mindful about how much we're charging, and we also need to be mindful about the fact that women deserve to be paid for their work, men as well, everybody in between. Everybody deserves to be paid for their work. Section number 3, the coach that sold me a lie. So let me just start off by saying that this specific person that I'm referring to is now a self-proclaimed born-again Christian. I have no idea if she went and actually got baptized, no idea what changes she made in her life, but this was a coach that was way overcharging people with that example that I last gave and under delivering on the value. This took place during the pandemic, so it was taking place during a time where people were very hopeful and very vulnerable, myself included, and it was the perfect ground to be manipulated. This coach was one of so many online that was flaunting her wealth, bragging about how much she makes, bragging about the bag she has, showing off the latest aesthetic treatment that she just got, and then all while asking for free labor from me for a magazine. She had me write an article. I sent her an invoice for the article, and she told me that she wasn't going to pay for it. This is the best example of false light and toxic luxury spirituality. I highly encourage you, if you are looking for a life coach, I no longer offer life coaching services, but if you are looking for a life coach, do not try to replicate the lifestyle that they are selling to you. Don't look at someone and go, oh my God, that lifestyle looks amazing, and they seem to have this strategy on how they earned that lifestyle, and they're going to charge me to get access to that strategy so I can live that lifestyle too. Don't get fooled by that. Because the fact of the matter is that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Everybody's approach is going to be different. But I think that now we're in 2025, most of these false light luxury coaches are pretty much all being exposed now. This person went from having a jewelry company to having a coaching business to now promoting something Bible related, but it's still wrapped up in luxury lifestyle. So I'm not really sure how that is any different than what she's been doing in the past. But it does speak to the fact that flaunting your wealth, especially when people are suffering, when people are vulnerable, is really disgusting. True light and true wealth is about being generous with your overflow, sharing your overflow with other people, not trying to take advantage and not trying to boast and brag. And the fact of the matter is, it all comes from insecurity of trying to prove yourself and prove your worth by buying a garment, a bag, an accessory with a letter on it, a logo, a designer, or whatever. It all comes back to that first point of that embodiment. If you're not embodying real self-esteem and real confidence, by that time that you spend on yourself, you're going to keep spending your money on a lot of frivolous and stupid things. Section number 4, neurotypical, ableist, misogynistic conformity. Why is this so important to make sure that we avoid when we're trying to take really good care of ourselves and upgrade our wellness? Well, for starters, more of us are neurodivergent than we even realize, and I'm going to place the neurodivergent umbrella right here by my hand. In the last year of my life, I was in more than one wellness and gym space that really pushed conformity of everybody on the same mat in a condensed space with really zero sensory care. I mean, like changes in temperature and lights and sounds and distractions. And neurodivergent people of all kinds have higher sensory needs. Something that is so important for me in my path and why I teach to begin with is to create a trauma-informed space, a space that allows for people to do deep healing, whether it's yoga, Pilates, or barre. And when these spaces encourage conformity of everybody dressing the same and all the mats being the same, and we don't really care about those sensory needs, and we're focused on the appearance and the aesthetic and on maintaining a certain image and a certain even-keeled emotion, we're not allowing for real healing to take place. There was a total lack of safety in these places, which is the reason why I ended up walking away. But I also want to speak to the fact that neurodivergent people are the most sensitive and vulnerable to being bullied. And that is because most neurodivergent people don't conform. So in some of these wellness spaces and these gyms and retreats, there is a certain level of pettiness or gossip or bullying, especially of neurodivergent people. And the other thing that I want to mention is that neurodivergence doesn't necessarily mean a disorder. It can also just mean a different way of being wired. Personally, as a neurodivergent person myself, I had to walk away from these places that I didn't feel were healthy for me, that I felt were toxic, and that I felt unsafe in, and that I felt, quite frankly, attacked on an emotional, spiritual, physical level. So the last section is what to look out for. So I've mentioned quite a few things already, and I don't want to take up too much more time, but one of the main things I want you to keep in mind is that those who have an issue with your boundaries are those who have benefited from you having none. Always maintain your boundaries and your standards in any of these spaces. If you are ever told that your intuition is wrong, leave. And if healing is sold to you as elitism, leave. I don't teach obedience, I teach empowerment. And I just want to add, always stay true to yourself and be authentic in what feels right for you when it comes to your specific wellness and spiritual journey. And never apologize for doing what is best for you. So first came the flash of these things that I've talked about today, and here is the flood. And may this flood cleanse and purify all that is not in alignment with the greater good of all. And so it is. If this video today landed with you, please make sure to subscribe to my Substack and read my full article. And also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Comment below if any of this resonated with you, and maybe even share it with someone who needs it. And most of all, stop apologizing for what you know is real, and do not fear holding back your truth. Because as a result of speaking your truth, you might be holding space for other people to come forward too. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, stay golden.